We all know Valve, the company behind Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress and Portal. A company that doesn't take shortcuts, doesn't leak secrets, and takes the time to make each product actually good. And one of their most anticipated products is their new VR headset, the Valve Deckard. And in this video, we're going to cover everything this headset has to offer by scraping the internet clean and diving deep into some mind-blowing technical information about Valve's upcoming headset. And so this is everything we know about the Valve Deckard. So I'm going to start this video off by saying something slightly controversial. If Valve were to release a standalone VR headset today with a similar OS as the Quest, it would fail. That ecosystem is too heavily dominated by Meta. The price points are just too low, and to give Meta credit, they are paving the way for standalone VR pretty much solo. And this is mostly due to the cost of investment, and they are willing to take that loss to push this technology forward. And when and if companies try to step in to compete in the same category, they usually end up failing. But fortunately, Valve isn't going down that path. The development of the Deckard has been consistent. Rumours started around mid-2021 with strings and code references hidden within the Steam updates. We have seen a fair few variations of what Deckard actually is, and this is most probably due to different design teams working on a future Valve headset. Unlike Meta, Valve is practically silent when it comes to new hardware, so information only trickles in. The consensus a few years back was Valve was working on a hybrid device, something capable of both PC VR and standalone, which to be honest, is pretty much the standard today in terms of wireless streaming. I'll explain later in the video, but Valve, by the looks of the most recent information, isn't exactly going down that route anymore, and could actually heavily be in the process of final testing their new headset. But first, I just want to prove to you this is a real device, and not just fairy dust. So starting from the beginning, the development of the Deckard is as follows. We've already spoken about the early code and string leaks in 2021. This was the initial discovery of the Deckard, and as you might have guessed, sadly it's Bradley is responsible for most of these leaks. Also, that same year, Valve made several patents for a standalone VR device. Moving on to 2022, there were more Steam VR references to Deckard POC, or proof of concept, which indicates the Deckard was an actual prototype. Later in that year, a standalone layer system was found within Valve's internal menu tab, and it also suggests that the Deckard would be running on a Linux-based SteamOS, which is similar to the Steam Deck. And again, in 2022, the Deckard looks like it moved to another iteration of the initial proof of concept, but this time referencing a dual tracking mode, which is likely related to both inside-out tracking and lighthouse tracking. Greg Kuma, Valve's product designer, also gave a verbal confirmation to the future plans of Valve, stating that the Steam Deck's chipset would run well in a VR environment, and hinted that this was relevant to Valve's future plans. In September 2023, the Steam VR's client was updated to show additions for wireless functionality, and also Valve received radio certification in South Korea, suggesting that a product of theirs was in its final iteration. Clearly, the Valve Deckard is a real product, but perhaps the most important information is the verbal confirmation from Greg Kuma. The Steam Deck was an incredible product. It moved PC gaming into a handheld form, and a VR headset capable of even flat-screen PC gaming would be a game changer, and a product that takes virtual reality into a new category, the era of standalone PC VR. And quite literally in the last few weeks, we've had confirmation that Valve's actively testing their new standalone headset on multiple PC VR games as we speak. And this is all related to a piece of software called Proton. But before I talk about that, let's hear from today's sponsor. This is the Artemis Bow, an incredibly immersive VR accessory that turns your controller into a real bow and arrow. Simply attach your Meta controller, connect it in-game and select from a handful of games like this, Tiny Archers VR, where you defend your castle from a horde of goblins, upgrade your arrows with armor piercing or magical enchantments, and choose from a range of different difficulties across a ton of levels. I much prefer to play games with real-world physical accessories. It feels far more immersive. But Tiny Archers VR can also be played like a normal VR game. It comes with different challenges, unlocks through the blacksmith, mini-games, and different environments for you to work your way through. If you want to check the Artemis Bow out and Tiny Archers VR, I'll leave a link down in the description below. Now, Proton is a compatibility layer designed by Valve that allows games built for Windows to run on a Linux-based system, like the Steam Deck. It acts as a translator, enabling compatibility across different operating systems. Recently, this has become a hot topic because a website that monitors changes within Steam noted that games were being tested with Proton ARM. Now, ARM64 is a processing architecture specifically designed for mobile devices. The Steam display change notes that several games, both 2D and VR, are currently being tested with Proton ARM. If this was just for a Steam Deck iteration, it wouldn't make sense to test VR games. The fact that both 2D and VR games are being tested strongly suggests that the Deckard will be a hybrid device, a standalone gaming PC headset, which could be a game changer in the market. To summarise this recent leak, it seems Deckard will be a highly capable standalone headset running a similar OS to the Steam Deck. Interestingly, I remember initially thinking Valve weren't interested in making another VR headset, but looking at this information, it seems like the Steam Deck was part of a broader plan to optimise the architecture for mobile hardware. This also implies that the Valve Deckard could be very close to a release date. They wouldn't be testing such a variety of games unless they were nearing a launch. And let's not forget, the mobile chip market is constantly evolving, so Valve may have been waiting for mobile hardware to reach a level capable enough to support this vision. But we do have one more question. What other specs will this headset have? We know its potential capabilities, but specs doesn't mean much without good quality optics, audio, controllers, and a solid head strap. I'm optimistic about the hardware of the Deckard because Valve tends to lead towards the upper end of quality. We can reasonably assume that the Deckard will use pancake lenses, as they are now the standard for mid to high tier headsets. The display will also likely be Micro OLED, as noted by Sadly It's Bradley, who spotted the potential partnership between Valve and a Micro OLED manufacturer. According to the leaks, the speakers would be similar to the off-ear speakers found on the Valve Index. And as for the controllers, the leaks suggest that they will resemble the Quest 2 controllers. This is the only piece of the puzzle that doesn't actually fit that well. Personally, I prefer the idea of a hybrid controller that could adapt for both 2D games, like the Nintendo Switch. On a slight tangent, Valve has also been working on a non-invasive brain-computer interface for VR, and are debating if they should sell an open-source head strap. According to Gabe, Valve's CEO, this could even cure motion sickness. Here's a short clip.
We're working on an open source project so everybody can have high resolution read technologies built into headsets in a bunch of different modalities. So the question, as soon as you do that, you say, oh, can we give people a tentacle? And you think, oh, brains were never designed to have tentacles. But it turns out brains are really flexible. Your body's ability to incorporate new things into it has to be flexible, because you use tools and you want to use the end of the tool as if it's part of your body. And you, in fact, if you look at the parts of people's brains that light up, it's exactly the same.
But that is in the near future. For now, that's everything we currently know about Valve's upcoming headset. If the specs and leaks hold true, it could cause a significant shift in the VR and gaming markets, effectively creating a new category of gaming device. But I'll be interested to know your thoughts on the Deckard. Would you buy one? And how much would you spend on one? If you like this video, like and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.